Then
Good night.
take care.
Difference.
Here is a swath of destruction that really starts in southwest Arkansas in Hempstead County and literally goes to the northeast corner of the state, exiting in Greene County. So it's just an unbelievable level and scope that we haven't seen perhaps ever.
One hand reaches out and pulls a lost soul.
We have damage from this a tornado that has touched down. The whole park is gone.
While 1,000 more go unspoken for. They say, what good have you done
in this hell
by saving just this one? It's like whispering a prayer in the fury of a storm, and I hear them say, you'll never change things, and no matter what you do, it's still the same thing. But it's not the world that I am changing. I do this so this world will know that it will not change me.
Life is fraught with hazards, man, and you know, it's worth living.
As long as one heart still holds on, then hope is never really gone.
Mom, Dad, if you're watching, bring the Winnebago. I need a place to live.
And I hear them say, you'll never change things, and no matter what you do, it's still the same thing.
Think that strangers would come and help you as they help us day and night. I love them all.
I do this so this world we know never changes me. What I do is so this world will know that it will not change me.
We'll do it. We'll find some help. We'll get through this somehow.
Good evening to you. I'm Larry Audis.
And I'm Ann Jansen. Those were the devastating scenes, of course, of March 1st, 1997.
And these are the memories. 1 year ago today, 16 tornadoes ripped through Arkansas. 25 people died. Almost 400 others were hurt. Statewide, hundreds of homes and businesses damaged or destroyed. Tonight, we will remember in this commercial-free newscast. Meteorologists Ed Buckner and Tom Brennan have memories, too. Not all of them just here in the Weather Center, either.
No, and I think you hit it right on the head there when you said we need to remember this. And looking at those pictures, it's easy to do. It seems like the impact for me really has never sunk in at all.
Well, for me, it was actually getting out from behind the desk. We were here for quite a long time, 3, 4, 5 hours, and I got to go out with Brian Black in the College Station area, and it just hit me. It just kind of in a startling way. So that's when I first felt the impact.
And our memories are as observers, and some folks much closer to it than us.
They are indeed, Larry. I'm in the THV newsroom, where joining us tonight are just some of the Arkansans who experienced the tornadoes firsthand. And talking with our guests tonight, each has a different story to tell. All of their experiences were unique. Each one can tell you exactly the precise moment when their clock stopped, meaning the tornadoes had torn their lives apart. We're going to hear some of their personal stories coming up a little bit later. They'll tell us where they were, how they reacted, and of course, how they survived. Larry?
And the tragedy in the tornado started at 2:42 on the afternoon of March the 1st with a direct hit in Arkadelphia. Clark County was the first to be hammered. 6 people died in Arkadelphia. Some 557 structures were destroyed or damaged. Clark County Courthouse, as you well know, built almost a century ago, was almost beyond repair when the tornado finally swirled away. Dawn Scott is handling our coverage from Arkadelphia tonight, and she joins us live from the Clark County Courthouse, that same facility. Dawn, you followed the recovery of the town. Give us a sense of the mood 1 year later now.
Larry, actually, we've moved from 530 from the Clark County Courthouse to Main Street. A symbol of recovery standing right behind me, the Citizens First Bank. If you'll recall, on March 1st, this building was practically blown away. Today, it is brand new, and as I said, a symbol of recovery for this town of 10,000. Of course, recovery on the minds of hundreds of people this afternoon at 2:42, the time the tornado ripped apart the heart of this community. A special ceremony was held on the lawn of the Clark County Courthouse. Tornado survivors, family, friends gathered to remember the power of this storm, its devastation, and also to recognize the spirit of the people here. There were tears for some. Tonight at 10, we'll talk to people who were affected. We'll talk to one man who rebuilt his tax and accounting firm despite the fact that he lost his secretary. She was one of the 6 killed here. We will have that story coming up a bit later.
All right, Dawn, we'll see you later in the newscast. Now, the second deadly tornado touched down in Saline County. 10 people lost their lives there. This destruction was caused by the largest twister of the day. At times, it left a path of destruction 8/10 of a mile wide. The line cut through the Chico, Vimy Ridge, Oak Ridge, and Shannon's Hills neighborhoods. Now, Brian Black was in Saline County and the Sardis Road area the day that the tornado hit, and he is back there again tonight. Brian, fill us in on how everything is there a year later.
Well, it looks a lot better than it did a year ago, as you can imagine, but things are still going slowly. Behind me is a house still under construction. There are a lot of homes in Saline County still under construction, but you've heard the term step by step. Here in Saline County, they're probably going brick by brick, rebuilding. Now, a little later in the show, we'll talk to a Saline County family that slowly but surely is getting their lives back together. Back to you, Larry.
Brian, thank you. The Saline County tornado did not stop there. It continued on into Pulaski County along Arch Street and Dixon Road. 2 more people died there. Funnel cloud touched down, became a tornado in College Station where 4 more people lost their lives. The twister was 1/3 of a mile wide, obviously very destructive at that point, blowing through scores of homes and businesses. Deanna Dewberry remembers what College Station looked like that night, and she joins us now. Deanna.
Oh, you bet I remember. The tornado cut right through this community, leaving nothing in its path, but as you can see, they're rebuilding. This will soon be the Graham Temple Church of God in Christ. Choir members were having rehearsal when the tornado struck. This was the scene last year. Everything around the church was destroyed, homes flattened. The choir director's car ended up in a tree, but although this building suffered major damage, it stood, and no one inside the church was hurt. But not everyone in College Station was as fortunate. Now, later on our newscast, you'll hear from a family that suffered incredible losses, but they're working hard to rebuild their lives. Back to you.
Now, we will go back to Arkadelphia and Saline County and also College Station just a little bit later. We are also going to visit with today's THV's meteorologists, Ed Buckner and Tom Brannon, who were on the air for some incredible 8 hours that fateful day. But first, we're going to go to the news set where Rochelle McCoy has the other news that's going on today. Rochelle?
That's right, Ann. Thank you. And these are the stories making national news today. Linda Tripp met with Whitewater prosecutor Kenneth Starr earlier today. You might recall she secretly taped former White House intern Monica Lewinsky discussing her alleged relationship with President Clinton. Tripp's attorney wouldn't comment on what his client and Starr talked about. The president denies a sexual relationship with Lewinsky. He says he never asked anyone to lie. And back here in Arkansas, Kenneth Starr is under investigation. A panel of the 8th U.S. Circuit Court of Appeals will meet in Fayetteville this week. They'll hear a complaint involving the Whitewater Independent Counsel. A Connecticut man has been fighting Starr's appointment from the very beginning. He claims Starr has several conflicts of interest. Starr's office, however, says the complaints are frivolous. Surprising new developments in a Searcy murder case, the death of a young mother. THV managing editor and investigative reporter Mel Hanks is back, and you're here to tell us all about it.
Rochelle, it's a case that's gone unsolved now for a full 8 months. But now today's THV has uncovered evidence which raises questions about how the murder probe has been handled and been treated all this time. A brutal murder last June on a quiet street in Searcy, a woman beaten and strangled. The victim was 30-year-old Tracy Holloway, who worked at a local beauty shop. She left behind Derek, her 3-year-old son, and also her mother, who was determined to find out who killed her daughter.
It's just a nightmare, because we were like sisters. We were, we were sisters. too. It's been a nightmare. I've lost a son, but not to this type of crime, not to this type of crime. And then to have to wait and wait and wait.
And the wait may last even longer. How did the Searcy Police Department handle the case? What we found may shock you. We'll have this story only on 11 tomorrow night on the 10 o'clock difference.
And of course, Tom is back with us. The weather, of course, a year later, nothing like that. Very beautiful day.
Yeah, good looking day. Actually, we do have a few clouds in northern Arkansas, but we got a few revisions to make the forecast. We're going to get a little cooler tonight than we previously thought, as temperatures are creeping down to about 25, 30 degrees instead of about 32. 35 in Fayetteville right now, 36 in Harrison, 35 in Fort Smith. Also in Hot Springs, it's 39. Little Rock, 43. Pine Bluff, 43. And a 37 chilly degree reading down in El Dorado. As I mentioned, we have a sky that's cloudy about the northern quarter of the state. Clear skies here in central Arkansas. The clouds cleared out, leaving us with this for your forecast. Fair skies with some scattered frost. 28 for the low, northwest wind 5 to 10. Now by tomorrow we'll have clouds in and out, but otherwise a partly cloudy day, breezy and cool. High of 48, northwest wind 10 to 15. So that's the way it looks. We do have another chance of rain moving back into the forecast a little bit later on in the week. But as for the next a couple of days, we'll receive some sunshine.
All right, we'll look forward to it.
Sure.
Thanks, Tom. And of course, Jerry's here with the day in sports. A lot of stuff going on with the Hogs.
When we left you at 6 o'clock, we were actually talking about UALR and whether they were going to keep their tournament hopes alive. Let's get to that right now. UALR was living in a cliche. Every game was must win. One false move and the Trojan season was over. That move occurred tonight in the semifinals of the Sun Belt Conference tournament, because tonight the Trojans were bumped off by South Alabama 79-48. The other semi pitted USL and Lamar. The score here 43-32 SL. That in the second half. In women's hoops, the aura of invincibility surrounding Tennessee is gone. In tonight's SEC title tilt, the Lady Volunteers led Alabama by only 3 in the first half. Bama cut the gap to 1 in the second. Lady Vols, though, stepped it up and won the tournament. They beat Bama 67-63. Tennessee then enters the NCAA tournament with a perfect 33-0 record. NASCAR went neon this week. The Winston Cup Series traveled to the entertainment capital of the world for the Las Vegas 400, out to one of the few places in Las Vegas where there's not a slot machine. But with 67 laps to go, you would find Batesville's Mark Martin speeding into the lead as he passed number 2. That would be Rusty Wallace. Martin kept his pedal to the metal and captures the Las Vegas 400, his first win of the season. And finally, Arkansan John Daly fired a 66 in today's final round of the Nissan Open. Daly's shot making got him a 4th place finish, 4 shots behind winner Billy Mayfair, who beat out Tiger Woods in a playoff. That is a rapid look at your sports.
And you did it very well. Thanks a lot, Jerry. We all remember where we were on March 1st, 1997. The staff at Southwest Hospital is no different. Today they went back to the place where they spent the night. On March 1st of last year, 66 of those who were injured rolled through these emergency room doors. More than 20 doctors and nurses worked double shifts. Another service today, this one in College Station. Members of Mount Nebo AME honored Mennonites who've been volunteering in College Station all year. Church members say they've built more than just homes. They've built lasting friendships. Here's Larry Otis with more of our tornado coverage.
Michelle, it's a part of Arkansas history now. March 1, 1997. Today's THV meteorologists Ed Buckner and Tom Brannon on the air with Live View Radar, the only TV radar in Little Rock to track the storms. Thanks to that technology, Ed and Tom provided life-saving weather information, something our viewers definitely appreciated.
We just have word that we have a tornado on the ground. Willow Springs. 45 houses have been hit on Geyer Springs Road.
It's devastating.
What we've confirmed tornadoes.
Right, we've had confirmed tornadoes.
We knew just exactly where the storm was going, and that helped us to make our decision for safety. And I feel like that Ed and Tom and the live radar saved a lot of people's lives.
If it hadn't been for Tom and Ed and the live view radar, there would have been a lot more death than what was, I do believe. We've had enough, but I think if they hadn't have done what they had done, it would have been a lot more people that would have been suffering. It was just phenomenal.
The only channel that was going live was Channel 11. And I was real happy about that because I'm from Florida originally, and I've never been in a tornado situation. Live view radar is very easy to understand. It was almost as if I was there, only someone else was there, a professional who could explain what was happening. And that made me feel safe.
Because we watched live view radar, it did save our lives. I had time to get my wife and son downstairs and to keep this from being a total disaster with 3 DOAs.
They were saved, and I truly think that y'all had a great deal to do with that.
And I give all the credit to Channel 11 and the outstanding weather system that they have. Live view radar saved my family from injury and possibly death.
It's nice to have a tool that can save lives. It's a machine, but all these people are obviously thankful that we have that piece of machinery. So I think we did the right thing by getting that for our viewers.
Radar is a great tool. Got to have the right kind of people to run it. But you're thinking lives, I'm sure, in the process of working those tools.
Right. We're tracking the storms and then trying to figure out where it's headed next to let people take shelter. Speaking of tracking the storms, we have a graphic prepared to show you all the different paths of the 16 different tornadoes that really affected us. And the longest one, believe it or not, was in northeast Arkansas. That one was about 75 miles on the ground. The one that did most of the devastation was on the ground for about 67 miles. It also touched down briefly in Saline and Pulaski County, and that's unfortunately where most of the deaths occurred, right, Tom?
Right, that's right. 6 deaths occurred in Clark County, with 10 occurring in between Pulaski and Saline County, I should say. And since it was a smaller path and a higher population,
right.
Pulaski and Saline County had the higher death rate. So we had 5 in Pulaski and 10 in Saline County.
Radar did its job that day.
Yep.
Once again, Dawn Scott joins us live from Arkadelphia. Dawn, no town rebuilds to exactly what it was, but Arkadelphia has made a big comeback in a year.
Larry, it was a memorable day here, a day some might rather forget, a day nonetheless etched in the minds and hearts of some 10,000 residents here. One man, Andy Berry, rebuilt his tax and accounting firm. He lost it in the storm. He also lost his secretary, Donna Du Bois. A story now of courage, strength, and sadness in the wake of terrible tragedy.
I knew it was coming. I knew it was big. I knew it did not care. Those were the 3 truths of that moment.
Andy Berry knows that moment well. It was 2:42 the afternoon of March 1st, 1997, the day his life was forever changed. It was tax season, so naturally he, his wife, and 2 secretaries, Donna Du Bois, the woman in blue, and her sister-in-law, Arlene McLaughlin on the far right, were all working that Saturday.
And the whole sky was just swirling, dark swirling mass, things flying out of it.
Donna was at the edge of the end of my desk. I made 3 steps towards her and I heard a crack.
That's when the tornado hit.
It looked like the worst spot in the world at that moment. And it may have been.
Andy and his wife made it out alive. Arlene survived, but not without a price. Donna didn't make it.
That was just absolutely devastating because she was not only my sister-in-law but my best friend. And it was there. It's like a part of you was torn away, and you just couldn't believe. I says no, it's not. But it was. She was dead.
President Clinton walked across the spot where Donna died, but that was then.
We've got a wall this thick. It's a tornado room.
This is now. Berry is back in business, but without Donna.
That's the toughest part of it. You know, I did well. I did all I could do, but big deal, somebody's still dead.
It took me a long time to get over that. I guess they call it survivor's guilt or something like that, but it was very hard for me to get over that because I really felt guilty.
In all, the storm killed 6 people in Arkadelphia, destroyed or damaged more than 700 homes and businesses. Slowly, Andy Berry and Arlene McLaughlin are getting back to normal.
She would really enjoy this building. I miss her. She hated that old building. She's ready to tear it down herself, I know.
Working to put the memories of March 1st to rest and move forward in peace. A sad note to this story, Donna Du Bois' son is a National Guardsman. He was one of the first to arrive on the scene. only to find that his mother had been killed in the storm. Sadly, he says that memories of this day will haunt him forever. Back to you.
Thanks, Dawn. Joining us tonight are Dwight and Karen Kirkpatrick, who are from Arkadelphia, and their business, the Williams Saul Shop, was leveled by the tornado. We're going to take a look at some of the pictures as you began to rebuild as we talk to you. You were not at your business when the tornado hit. You were at home.
Yeah, we close at noon on Saturdays.
And your home was fine.
Mm-hmm.
Talk to me about some of the process, some of the challenges as you tried to rebuild.
Well, it was a big decision to make to where we go back in business, but with the help of a lot of folks, they was instrumental in helping us make the decision to go back in business.
Karen, would you say that your lives are routine again?
I don't think they'll ever be routine again. They're better than they were a year ago, but it's, you know, we've had things that's happened that can never be replaced, and we thank God that He let us survive, and we've had so many friends and family that's helped us, and so we're thankful for that.
You mentioned you still have things that are out there that are not in their places, and some things that are irreplaceable that you've lost.
Yeah, we lost special tools and things like that. And,
we saw earlier there was a service today in Arkadelphia. You attended that service?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Similar stories today from all of the members of the audience that everyone went to some type of commemorative service today just to gather and be with people who went through the same thing they did. Ed?
And shortly after the tornado devastated Arkadelphia, it stayed on the ground for some time, lifting just to the east of Malvern. Then, a few minutes later, it set back down in Saline County, and that's where we began to really track it with live view radar. Let me show you something from that day. This is what it looked like on March 1st, 1997. We'll put this time lapse into motion. I want you to follow the little arrow on your screen. That's my cursor. Look down near Sardis Road. You will clearly tell there is a tornado right here because there's a little bit of a circulation. Looks like a donut, kind of. The red and yellows being wrapped intensely around the vortex, moving toward Arch Street Road, Dixon Road. It lifted briefly over Highway 65 and then set back down in the College Station area. We'll go through this time lapse one more time, give you another look at it. Watch down here in the bottom left-hand side of your screen. The tornado moving through Saline County, hitting the Sardis Road area, moving through Royal Oaks and Shannon Hills, and there you see it, that bright red circle right through there. We call that a hook echo, and we tracked it all the way through Saline County and parts of Pulaski County, and eventually through College Station, and even into northeast Arkansas.
And you're getting a sense of what's happening as you're looking at that.
Yeah, but you really didn't have time to let it set in at the time.
Brian Black is in Saline County. He's looking back. A lot of other people are too a year after, Brian.
Yeah, you don't have to go far to see the damage. It's still here even a year later. Take a look at this car. It sits in a front yard in the Royal Oaks community. Windows busted out, the sides are buckled. This is what the tornado did, but let's show you what the people of Saline County are doing now. Behind me, a home is being built. They're in the rebuilding process. Hopefully by the middle of summer, they'll be able to move in. As you can see, it's been a year, but still a lot of work to be done. In fact, some people fear it could be a decade before all the scars from the tornado are healed. It's been a year, but the horrible memories of the tornado still burn in the minds of James Abbott. James spends most his days in the seat of a tractor. The twister spent minutes on the ground, but its fury left a year's worth of work for James and his family.
But I'm just glad to be alive by that thing, really, because it totally demolished that house and us in it, and I'm just real happy that God spared our life.
This is what was left of the Abbott's home after the tornado hit. Pots and pans were the only things left to salvage. James himself had a broken arm and a long cut down his face.
No, I'll never be the same. No, it done a number on me.
Well, it's been a pretty bad year, but it's been
James's son Tim says staying busy keeps his mind off the tornado, and this year it hasn't been hard to stay busy. The work never stops. There are hundreds of downed trees to cut. And the wood must be burned. Big logs are brought up to the house for firewood. The Abbotts have moved into a new home.
Looks good from here.
A Christian group is building free of charge a deck onto the Abbott's house. The volunteers from across the country came to Arkansas to help tornado victims dig out.
you just feel a purpose. Just feel a purpose that you hear a storm and you just know that people are hurting there. So you just go and help them.
The Abbotts are very thankful for the help they've received. Tim says the biggest gift they got was from God.
Our family means a lot. We was real lucky, thanks to Jesus, you know, that we all lived through it, you know. I mean, people across the street, you know, got killed, and we just all got to live through it.
The Abbotts have lived through a long year. They hope by next year their home will start looking normal again. But one thing is sure.
And it'll go to looking better in 10 years, but and no, it'll never look the same. It's never going to be the same.
Never look the same. That's what everyone's saying here in Saline County, but they just hope soon they'll be able to look back and have some maybe happy memories from March 1st.
All right, Brian, Perry Morgan is one of those in Royal Oaks who lost everything. You probably remember Perry from our coverage, not only that day, but also in the days and weeks that followed. As a matter of fact, Brian's standing in front of your house tonight, so
yes.
You are rebuilding now.
Sure am.
Talk to us a little bit about what that process has been like for you. How tough has it been for you to rebuild?
It's been hard. Had a lot of assistance from friends and relatives and the Interfaith, Christian Relief, all of those have been wonderful.
You were telling me that the folks in your neighborhood decided to get together and form an association?
The Royal Oaks Community Association, and we've had an election, and we're working with the judge on getting our roads rebuilt and our ditches done, and then we're working with the federal government on getting us a sewer system in there since there were all septic tanks there.
Taken this long to have those types of services and those types of things repaired in your neighborhood. Tell me what was going through your mind a few days ago, last week, when the tornadoes hit Florida and you saw similar destruction down there.
All chills ran up my spine.
Brought it all back to you. Yeah. Well, Perry Morgan, thanks for being with us tonight. Ed, back to you over in the Storm Center.
And I remember very clearly tracking that storm through that area and across Arch Street Pike, the Dixon Road area. When it got to Highway 65, it moved across that road and then lifted very briefly and then had its sight set on College Station. Right here is the tornado. It's not as well defined. It lifted up a little bit, sat back down in the College Station, then lifted up again over the Little Rock Airport. So once again, we were tracking it through that part of town.
College Station will not forget the storm track of March 1st. Neither will Deanna Dewberry.
You're right, I'll never forget. Everything in the path of this tornado reduced to rubble, but the community is rebuilding, as you can see here. But for some, it's been more difficult. 4 people in this community lost their lives. Barbara King was one of them. Her daughter Chandra badly injured. Her mother lost her home, but through faith, this family's recovering.
It's March 2nd. The King family searches through rubble. 2 homes destroyed, but those aren't the family's greatest losses.
Why did it have to be her and not me?
Christopher King is grieving. His sister Barbara died when her trailer was tossed 100 feet. Barbara's daughter Chandra badly injured, her right arm, right leg, and left ankle crushed by debris.
Do you see Massachusetts anywhere? Right there. All right.
This is Chandra now, the bright-eyed 8-year-old with the sweet smile as a 3rd grader at Carver Elementary. She's adjusting to her new life with her aunt and uncle, but remembers her mother's love for her and big brother Kelton.
She loved me very much, though. And she loved Kelton a lot, just like she loved me a lot.
This is my mom's bedroom here.
Tornadoes also destroyed Barbara's mother's home. Vera King lived next door to Barbara. It was March 6, 1997, when family members showed me the destruction.
You want to go and look? You know, this is the first time I've been in here since you. This is really nice. Yeah.
Vera's home today.
This is the master's bedroom. Okay.
Vera lost everything she owned in the tornado. Although she doesn't have much furniture yet, she does have a new home built by Mennonite volunteers.
But the Mennonites started it from the ground, built it, ordered all the materials.
Vera had some insurance, but not enough to rebuild. And then volunteers, dozens from the Mennonite Disaster Service rolled in, volunteers giving of themselves, teaching valuable lessons.
Through it all, yes. I've learned that love builds up and hate tear down, and through it all, I've learned to trust in the Lord.
And they say that trust is what has helped the family start again.
And as you can see there, certainly physical wounds have healed and homes have been rebuilt, but emotional healing is going to take some time. I talked to Vera King about what this first anniversary is going to be like for her, and she said it's very difficult.
Well, Deanna, we have a little girl in the studio that wants to visit with you, so come back quickly after the show. Those of you at home probably remember Deanna's stories about Jana Randall. Her picture ran in USA Today right after the tornado, and what happened after the picture was published, Jana, is incredible. You heard from people all over the country, didn't you?
Yes, ma'am.
What kinds of things did they do for you?
Well, they gave me a lot of clothes and dolls and just a whole lot of games and stuff.
Were you surprised by the reaction from so many strangers?
Yes.
Do you still think about the storms at all?
Yeah.
Yeah, when do you think about it?
Well, I think about it at school, and one time last year in the morning, it shook our whole house, just when thunder.
Oh, when thunder and lightning, maybe when another storm moved through? Have you had nightmares about it too?
Mm-hmm.
How has your life different since the storms came through?
Well, I like to watch the weather a lot.
More interest in the weather?
Yes.
Yeah? What do you miss most that you had before the storms that you don't have now?
My neighbors.
Yeah? What happened to your neighbors?
Well, they were moved, like in Bryant, in this new neighborhood.
So everybody kind of moved after the storms came through?
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, thanks for being with us today, Janet. It's good to see your smiling face here. Ed?
And we have some pretty dramatic pictures of the storm that killed 4 people in northeast Arkansas. This was shot by Paul Roberson.
Yes, it's huge. That's about the size of that one that Rich Babbitt had.
That's the biggest one I've ever seen, buddy.
This was shot just to the southeast of Oil Trough in Independence County. That's the one that claimed 3 lives in Jackson County, and then another one up in Greene County. And the damage that one did range from between F1 and F3 damage. Also, the death toll from March 1st was listed as 25, but some tolls list 27 as the number of people killed by the storm. That's because 2 people died as a result of the cleanup. Police say 17-year-old Jason Bradley Heath had worked all night Sunday in Jackson County. He was driving home when he fell asleep at the wheel of a car. And another contract worker for West Tree Service, George Wood, was killed days after the storms while he was clearing tree limbs from downed power lines on Arch Street.
Well, of course, we want to thank you, the viewers, for being a part of our program tonight, 1 year after the 97 tornadoes.
Tom and Robin tomorrow morning right here on 11 for the morning program.
Now, as we say goodnight, we want to remember the people who couldn't be with us this night, those, of course, being the people who lost their lives in the storms. They, of course, will never be forgotten. Good night.
Thanks for joining us. Good night.